Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us today. Over the course of the past month and a half, we've been providing updates on the situations with two homes on Applegate Lane. Today, we're here to give an update on our planned approach to remediate the property located at 6213 Applegate Lane. As I have said many times before and will continue to say during this entire process, that safety guides our decision-making. And we are looking to understand all information, get all questions answered, turn over every stone before this operation commences. And that's what we have been doing, guided by concerns about safety. So quickly, a recap of how we got here. LMPD executed a search warrant at 6211 and 6213 Applegate Lane and found explosive substances along with other substances that pose a substantial risk to first responders. As you heard Chief Gwyn Billerowell say many weeks ago, this was a hoarder's home. The owner of 6213 has since been arrested, has been charged with various crimes, and remains in jail today. At the time of the discovery of the contents of these homes, with the limited knowledge and resources our team had at the time, in consultation with experts in explosives and hazardous chemicals, including federal partners and other agencies, they all determined that a planned, monitored, and controlled burn of the home and the detached garage was the only safe way to dispose of the contents. Again, every step of the way, the safety of first responders, the safety of the neighbors around Applegate Lane, and the safety of everyone in our entire city has been our top priority. And we have been working closely with state, federal, and local agencies who have expertise in hazardous situations. Again, I said at the very beginning and will continue to say that safety will guide our decision-making process. And while we began planning immediately for the monitored, controlled burn, we would not proceed until I was absolutely convinced that all options had been explored. We quickly requested the assistance of the United States Environmental Protection Agency, and they accepted. The EPA has been fully integrated into our unified command for this situation. We held a community meeting on August 7th, where we shared information and listened to the concerns of neighbors. Again that night, I said we would not move forward with any plan until I was satisfied that it could be done in the absolute safest way possible. Our team had many conversations with private contractors and public agencies to evaluate any other ideas that were brought forth to address this challenging and unique situation. The following week after that community meeting, the EPA was on site at both properties to further assess the conditions. At that time, they discovered mercury immediately inside and outside of the house located at 6211 Applegate Lane. The EPA returned to Louisville the last week of August and successfully remediated the mercury. I want to thank them for their work at the site to date. Now to 6213 Applegate Lane. Time has been on our side, and we have continued to work with partners to seek the best and safest path forward. Thanks to the hard work, effort, and expertise of many, we have a new primary strategy. At this time, in coordination with Metro Emergency Services and the Kentucky Department for Environmental Protection, we have agreed to allow the EPA to proceed with a controlled mechanical demolition of the property located at 6213 Applegate Lane, pending final approval of the plan. The EPA is not able to be with us today because of a conflict. However, the EPA's acting Region 4 Administrator, Janine Gettle, asked us to convey this statement. Quote, EPA, in coordination with the Louisville Metro Emergency Services and the Kentucky Department for Environmental Protection, plans to use a mechanical approach controlled demolition to address 6213 Applegate Lane. To briefly describe this process, it involves removing debris from the home in small scoops. To begin with, a 17-foot perimeter wall will be erected from shipping containers around the entire structures. The EPA plans to use an excavator to remove this debris in small scoops. They will mechanically remove the roof of the house, as well as walls, and scoop by scoop, small amounts of material will be removed from the home, placed into a large steel container that is partially buried in the backyard of 6213 Applegate Lane, and the contents will be disposed of. As we've said before, time is on our side, so EPA will be moving slowly to limit any risk to responders and to neighbors and the entire neighborhood. Our team continues to prepare and take extreme caution all safety preparations. We will have water cannons on site when this takes place. We will have air monitors. We will have cameras. We have a fire suppression plan that we are continuing to work on with the Fern Creek Fire Department. EMS will be on site in the event of emergency, and we are continuing to develop our evacuation plan that will be needed only in the event of an unexpected emergency. This process that I just described of a controlled mechanical remediation is not expected to begin before October, and once it begins, it should take less than a month, depending on final contractor schedules and, of course, weather. As mayor, I promised not to authorize any action until I was satisfied that we were doing it in the safest way possible. That means the safety of our community, but it also means the safety of the incredible professionals in Metro government and all of our partners. And I am confident that with the EPA, we can do this safely, successfully, and without having to evacuate an entire neighborhood. We are continuing to maintain our unified command structure, and I want to thank Louisville Metro Emergency Services for coordinating this multi-agency response, along with the United States Environmental Protection Agency, LMPD and the LMPD Bomb Squad, Hazardous Incident Response Team, Kentucky National Guard 41st Civil Support Team, Fern Creek Fire and EMS, Councilman Jeff Hudson, and many other local, state, and federal partners. We will all continue to move forward with all of the safety planning and preparation for this plan. Our team will also continue planning with the original plan in the event that we would need to respond in case of an emergency. Security will be on site 24/7 for the duration of this operation until it's complete. In conclusion, we're here today to provide with a status update that we have just provided, and we will continue to be transparent about operations and planning, and will continue to share updates on LouisvilleKY.gov. There you'll see a banner at the top of the site. We have frequently asked questions there as well, and we will also continue to notify the public through social media channels. We have already notified neighbors directly through text messaging earlier today, and we are working with the EPA to give regular updates to the media and the entire community during this controlled mechanical remediation. Thanks to all of my colleagues with me here today, and we're now happy to answer any questions that you all might have. Yes.
Two questions. First of all, did you just say that you'll have a plan ready for a controlled burn in case of an emergency? I just want to clarify.
Yes, we are continuing that planning, or in the case of an emergency, yes.
How often are these mechanical, how often are these mechanical demolitions carried out usually?
These are actually very rare. Due to the circumstances throughout the United States, we can only find that this is a situation that's happened about 8 times from some of the subject matter experts that have talked about it. And that's what's taken so long through this process to get a reputable contractor with the Environmental Protection Agency to come in and do this. They presented a plan, to us just late last week. So up until then, we were still planning with the burn. So it's been a struggle to get, like I said, a reputable contractor to come in that's qualified to do such work.
Let's be clear, we believe we have now identified that reputable contractor. But we continue to say, as we said from the very first time that we made this that LMPD made this discovery, this is an incredibly unique and challenging situation.
Who is the contractor? Are you naming the contractor?
We probably will as we get closer, but the EPA is working on all those details right now, and so we'll probably let them make that announcement if possible.
The gentleman who just spoke, what is
Sorry,
what is
Jody Myman, who's the director of Louisville Metro Emergency Services.
One other question. How much is this costing me?
Great question. So we have requested from the EPA that that's part of the pending approval. Part of that pending approval is that the EPA would pay for this remediation plan that I just described.
So no kind of large-scale evacuations plan, but is there anyone during these demolitions that might have to leave their houses?
So again, we do not expect using this approach that we will need to have an evacuation plan for the neighborhood. We are talking with some of the immediate neighbors that have unique situations in their own household that just in an abundance of caution, we may work to temporarily relocate them, again, because of their unique situations that in the event of an emergency, it would be difficult to quickly leave. So that would just be an abundance of caution. That will be something that we're working on them and will be on a voluntary basis. But that is just a small handful of people in the immediate vicinity. And again, it's only because in the event there does need to be an emergency evacuation, they might have some challenges leaving rapidly.
Just to follow up to the earlier question, so the EPA is going to pay, but that's still federal tax dollars. The man who owns the house and who has caused all this trouble, this may be more of a legal question, but do you hope to is there any way to get any money back from him for everything that he's done to cause all this and however many thousands of dollars this is going to cost to take care of his property and the property he was squatting on?
Yeah, so again, we have been focused on this approach and planning this in the safest and most effective way to get this done for the safety of the neighborhood and the entire community. We are very appreciative of the EPA's partnership and very hopeful that the EPA, through their programs, will be able to pay for this. And we may consider seeking compensation from Mr. Hibble. However, my understanding is that the reason that he remains in jail is he has not been able to post bond, and so I don't believe he has the financial resources to make a material contribution towards this, although if that turns out not to be the case, if there is a path, certainly we would like to seek compensation, but I don't expect that.
Is there any plans for the other house?
For 6211 Applegate Lane, no, again, what we have done so far on that, the EPA remediated the emergency situation of that house. That will not, there will not be a demolition of 6211. We believe that house has now been remediated. All right, last question.
Yeah, so sort of two questions. The first one is the EPA, so it will go through with this controlled mechanical demolition pending final approval. Who gives that final approval?
I'm sorry, the EPA's final approval. Yeah, we have been in very close consultation. As Jody mentioned, all of us and all of our agencies and others have been working closely with the EPA on this for probably a month now. They have been hoping to be able to come up with this strategy. Late last week is when we got word. So we're just waiting for the final approval. But again, we wanted to give an update on the plans and communicate promptly with the public of the direction that we are heading in.
And so I know that you originally had said that a controlled burn was the only option. So what changed? Was it you reached out to the EPA? Did the EPA reach out to you guys?
We reached out to the EPA and sought their expertise, their assistance, and their knowledge. Again, this is a very, very unique situation. Jody mentioned earlier, there's not been many times that this has happened before. When our primary strategy was the monitor-controlled burn, there were very few situations that had done that as well. And so that's why, based on federal, state, and local experts in chemicals, in explosives, in dealing with situations like that, that was at the time the only safe option that we were aware of. We've had lots of conversations since then. Other people have put forth ideas, many of which did not seem nearly as realistic or safe as what that option was. Fortunately, this strategy has surfaced, and now with the advice of the EPA, we are hoping to proceed with this strategy. Thank you all very much.